Said you can bury the workman, but the work will go on. You can silence the voices, but you can't stop the song.
Welcome to Wheeling the Pathways of Life Unplugged with your host, Brain Fitzpatrick. Wheeling the Pathways of Life Unplugged is a snapshot of the day-to-day experiences of disabled individuals as they navigate the world around us. We wish to shed light and open your eyes on a new perspective of people with disabilities. And by going unplugged, we can discuss viewpoints we hope will challenge our viewers' points of view. Most of us have disabilities we must live with, but what defines us is the way we deal with them. And now, here's your host, Brain Fitzpatrick.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Brain Fitzpatrick, bringing you another episode of Wheeling the Pathway of Life. I have with me today, as promised, a returning guest, Ricardo Morales, the director of Public Works and Utilities. Public Works and Utilities. Good afternoon, Ricardo.
Good afternoon, Brian. Thanks for having me here. I'm glad to be back and ready to talk about all that we do and all of our good projects that we have out there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting show, but I want to get into as much as we can during the time of the show. Where would you like to start? Should we start at the front or the back end?
Which one is the best one? The front end?
We should start it. We should start it with the most important one first, which I just heard about before I came in. We got a code red or a robocall on.
Yes.
The new bridge is going in. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, so the Holmes Road Bridge messaging has been going out. If you are signed up for Code Red, you got the message today, either by phone or by text or email. There's also a press release that went out a couple of days ago, and the city is collaborating with the state in the communications here because it will definitely affect, it will certainly affect a lot of individuals commuting through that normally use Holmes Road. The Holmes Road Bridge will be closed, and for that reason, for the next 63 days, starting tomorrow, there's going to be no access through Holmes Road. So if you're going north-south or vice versa, south-north, traveling through Pittsfield, you're asked to avoid Holmes Road, as there will be no access through it. And then you will need to go on Route 7 or 20, Route 720, that turns into South Street, Pittsfield, and then continue your way that way. If you need to get back on Holmes Road, that's where you take, the full detour, where you're on South Street, Route 720, you take Crowfoot Street, then you take Pomeroy, and then you take Holmes Road South. There's very importantly...
Anybody that lives on Holmes Road will have access to the house, but they'll just have to go all the way around instead of...
For everyone, yes, that is correct. For everyone that lives north of the bridge on Holmes Road, they have to go the 720 route, and then travel Crowfoot, Pomeroy, and then Holmes Road South.
Yeah. One thing I did want to mention, because they did mention it quite a bit on the robocall, is the 63 days is dependent on weather and unforeseen.
Yeah, it is very much weather dependent, and as construction always brings unforeseen conditions that could impact the schedule.
Yeah.
That could happen. The state is running this project very tightly with the contractor. The contractor itself, under that project, has incentives, has both incentives to get the work done under 63 days and has penalties if they go beyond 63 days. Of course, weather delays are not included there, but they would be incentivized if they get before the 63 days, so that that helps immensely in getting the work out better. I want to mention that one particularly visible or special business that operates off of Holmes Road will be impacted. That's Arrowhead. They're going to remain open throughout the summer season, the Arrowhead and Herman Melville Museum, and we're going to be installing signs that help visitors to the museum on the detour specific to Arrowhead. So that's basically the one business that will be impacted. Most of the other stuff is residential.
Just so people know, are we doing that as a courtesy, or are we doing that because the state requires us to do
The
it?
state is going to be placing signs that say commerce is open, but we are assisting going one step further, and because it is the only business that will be impacted in that way. They're on Holmes Road. We are, and I say only business in a broad sense. There's other businesses. For example, there's a farm and there's a church, but those are not your typical type of business. You know, like a museum. Yeah. So that's why we are taking the time to do that.
Are we, is our police department and our, is the state police handling that one, or is Pittsfield PD handling that one as well?
The police is aware, the state is aware. The most important thing that we have been working with the services, emergency services, is fire response.
And
The fire chief.
Let me just preface by saying I'd like to thank Lennox Fire for because they are a volunteer station, but they are placing someone in the station for the next 63 days.
Well, let me say this. They're giving us the location, but the city, is placing the firefighters at that location. So it is going to be Pittsfield firefighters responding from a Lennox facility that otherwise sits empty for most of the time.
So, good thing you corrected me. It's going to be City of Pittsfield firefighters responding from Lennox.
Yes.
With, I assume it's going to be Pittsfield equipment.
Yep, that's correct.
All right. So Pittsfield equipment is relocating to the Lennox facility
to service the properties and businesses and houses from south of the bridge on Holmes Road, and all the streets that connect to that.
And they will be there for the next 63 days.
Yep, or unless, when the bridge is reopened. That's the plan. This is something, Brian, we met more than a year ago. We met, the state organized some meetings, and we met with them. I was present, taking questions, answering what we could from the standpoint of the city. And overwhelmingly, the residents wanted to have the bridge construction itself take as little as time as possible. So what that meant was that residents, you're asking for a full closure, and that's what we're doing. That's what the state is doing. And otherwise, the other alternative is the actual construction of the bridge will take 2 seasons,
Yeah.
doing half one season and then half the other season. And that prolongs the state of the bridge into 1 lane another year. That also prolongs the heavy construction and machinery operation around houses for another year, which is to
Nobody
the detriment.
wants to.
Correct.
Nobody wants to do.
So I think it was the best scenario, and I'm glad that the residents wanted to see that happen, and that we're doing it. We're close. I'm glad to see the state stepped up to that occasion.
Including you, because we gotta remind people you are a resident of Pittsfield.
Yes.
You live in Pittsfield, so we can count you as part of that.
Absolutely. I frequently take Holmes Road, and I'm going to be negatively impacted by the closure. But knowing that it's going to be done much quicker, that's a good incentive.
One of the other things one of the several things I want to talk about too is, we did something more than, I believe it was 3, maybe even 4 years ago now. We did a walk around the city just to get a viewpoint of the difficulties for the disabled and the workarounds we have to do as a disabled community to get around in the city. And I'm very proud to say that because of that, we're about to embark one of the first major changes of that walk around is going into effect real soon.
Well, I'd like to address a few things here. That was in 2019, and
Okay.
and in 2020 we were getting ready to start implementing many things, but obviously, and this I'm getting tired of saying this, because of the pandemic, we were delayed in a few ways. But one of the things we were able to do before we actually put down repairs or addressed specific things that were flagged, one of the things that we accomplished with the road diet we did on North Street was the making it safer for someone crossing the street. So no matter what, where you were crossing, whether it was a good crosswalk before or not, now it's much better. You're only crossing 1 lane of travel in each direction. Your distance to cross is less, and that speaks a lot to, I know back in 2019 we measured the time it took someone in a wheelchair to cross versus someone walking, or a more abled person walking, and it was a significant impairment to be able to cross the whole length of road from bump out to bump out. Even with the bump outs there, we had to cross 2 lanes of traffic in one direction and then 2 lanes of traffic in the other direction. And that was very, very difficult to accomplish in the time allotted to. And with the road diet, we eliminated the chance of someone stopping, but then someone continuing to go and then blindly, not seeing who was crossing at the crosswalk and potentially hitting them. I remember you were almost hit in one of those intersections in the walkthrough. You were walking with a police officer.
Yeah. Which I will never do again what I said. Because I will do it again, but this time with the police officer right there.
Yeah.
I won't ask the police to back off like I did last time, because the idea of having the police back off was to show you what would have happened with the police still there, obviously, because they were still there close enough to see it, but they were there close enough to see it, but luckily they were able to catch the person and
Yeah, so one of the things we're now getting to do after some years, and besides slowing everyone down on North Street, is installing one of those rapid flashing beacons on North Street, crossing near the intersection with the YMCA area. One of those signals that does not have a traffic signal. It's a crossing that does not have a traffic signal. So it stands alone. And right now, it's just the signage that's there. But soon, in around August, we're going to have actual beacons flashing when someone is about to cross. So that's an improvement.
Is that going to be physical structure of a push? Is that going to be a push thing when it senses somebody, or is that going to be camera?
It's not camera. It's a push button. And one of the things that I've always told anyone who asks on their street if they can have a flashing beacon for pedestrians specifically, I often find myself telling people I would not be just installing a sign that says, with flashing lights, that says stop because there might be someone crossing. That alone does not work. You need the infrastructure to tell the people that are driving. You need the infrastructure to tell them that you're approaching an area that is a little bit uncomfortable to drive, and what that means is that it is more comfortable and safer for someone outside of the car to use. Yeah. And that's the goal. And we cannot achieve that with just signage or flashing beacons. We have to tell the story from the entire intersection's construction, and that's why on North Street, reducing to one lane in each direction, that road diet, 4 lanes to 2 lanes, that road diet makes that happen. We have, yes, the outcome of that is we now have a space to have bicycles, and that has its own other gamut of improvements and reasons for it to be good. But just the road diet on its own was enough, and now we're adding it and making it even safer.
Yeah, and one of the other things I'd like to say is the fact that, in my view, you are, in your whole department for that matter, have been the most receptive to change and receptive to what the community wants and what the community needs. Now, in reality, and we're going to get into reality, in reality, what the residents want, what the residents want isn't always going to happen, because even though they are residents of Pittsfield, most of them, and they sometimes don't consider themselves residents of Pittsfield, but they are the city council and the city council president, as far as whether or not they feel like you're doing a good enough job. But I'm just gonna start off by saying I think this is not because it's you, Ricardo, but I think with cooperation with the city and the police department and the council, as much as you can cooperate with them, I think you've done one heck of a job doing it, and I think your entire team has done a pretty remarkable job.
Thank you for saying that, Brian. We try to be responsive. We try to accommodate all the requests that we can. It's very difficult to, because to communicate the things that we know work with someone that has lived in an area for decades and does not, has not seen any other thing worked other than what we have built in that time frame. And to put it very simply, we have built in America, we have built our environment, our urban places the wrong way for 80 plus years, and we need to start methodically and purposefully updating our systems of infrastructures, our roadways, our sidewalks, our crossings, to accommodate for everyone, not just people on vehicles, to accommodate the most vulnerable users of our roads, and to create a system of urban infrastructure that is not reliant on car dependency.
We're trying to make this city better for everybody.
Yes.
And that includes the roads, that includes, because believe it or not, Ricardo and I sitting here, we are part of the community. Ricardo is gainfully employed by the city. So, gainfully employed by the city, yes, but he still does everything you guys do, like shopping,
right here,
traversing between cars, traversing between place to place, and making sure everything is safe. But he's not only doing it for you, but he's doing it for himself too.
Myself, my family, my immediate family, my 2 kids and my wife, and my extended family, my parents, they live here in Pittsfield now. They moved in a few years ago. My 2 sisters, one of whom just moved here. So we're growing over here.
Yeah, and you don't plan on going anywhere?
Nope.
No, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab it now before I'm really gonna hit something strong, but I think it's an appropriate time to hit it, but because what I find very appalling, and Kelsey, you can go ahead and take the one shot for now if you want to. What I find very appalling is the behavior of the city council when it comes to dealing with department heads and dealing with what they feel like the department heads aren't doing. Well, this is an appropriate time for that, and I don't think during a city council meeting, showing the behavior of the city council is the appropriate time as during a city council meeting. I think there's appropriate times to be discussing what's happened in the past in closed door meetings and somewhat committee meetings, because you want to bring people in, you don't want to push people away, because you're saying, in one breath you're saying the city council meetings are going too long, they're not getting enough accomplished, but yet you're saying, talking about stuff that happened 20 years ago, on somebody else that's been a department head, and you're not, you're just gonna you're picking on the department head, but you're picking on the wrong one. And I'm not saying that because of Ricardo. I've seen it for myself. There's things that this city could do if they would just spend the time and actually do them. I
agree.
I don't care who the mayor is. I don't care who the department heads are, the buck stops with the city council. I mean, the buck stops with the mayor, of course, but the buck stops also with the city council, because the mayor can't do anything unless the city council approves it.
There's two arms of the two branches of the government, the executive and the legislative, and they both have their very real and important roles. Sometimes they get mixed up and commingled, but I think that's very real what you're saying about taking the time at City Council to air out some things that are coming out for the first time, and often it's done to grandstand and to say things that are on their respective minds. And I'm talking here in general. And I know for a fact that with many counselors, with all counselors, I have almost every time there's something controversial, like a petition response or a controversial one, or the city budget, for example, I reach out to them and I ask them, do you have any questions? What would you like to talk? And many of them reply back, and we have a good conversation. But there's always some that consistently do not engage in that way, and then the surprise questions happens.
Yeah. And the surprise questions happen, which is embarrassing to you, and quite frankly, and I'll take the risk in saying this, quite frankly, I think it's deliberate in some cases, because they want to show you as not being prepared and not being ready to answer the questions or whatever. Because how many times have you actually said to them, give me the questions ahead of time?
Many times.
So I can
many times.
I can answer the questions. So by you saying there's no questions, he's gonna come prepared for the questions you've asked him, not the question you're going to ask him during the city council meeting.
Correct.
But my question to the city council is, who is that hurting? It's not hurting Ricardo. It's hurting the city in general. It's hurting Ricardo as the embarrassment, but it's actually hurting the economy of the city and other things, because the people watching the city council, and one of the things we gotta remember is when we do city council and stuff, we are live on social media as well. We are live on Access Pittsfield. That goes everywhere. So everywhere in the country sees us, little Pittsfield, Massachusetts, trying to bring people in, but we got a city council that argues, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. It's like, move on.
Yeah.
That was 20, 30 years ago. Move on.
I agree.
And one of the things we need to work on, too, is the major infrastructure of water and sewer. And we were just talking about the water infrastructure before we went on the air. As far as the water pressure, you are working on specific areas to bring up.
So Brian, the city council approved my request to provide funding for several projects under the water infrastructure enterprise. And one of them is repairs to the Sandwash Reservoir. Another one is to repair problems with water mains. And that's going to go throughout the entire city. repairing low pressure zones and repairing water mains that are old or in need of upgrades. We got the approval to make a connection for the northern and western pressure zones at the around Valentine and Peck's intersection. That's another project. And then we also received approval on the this is a water related project, but it was approved under sewer because it's a combined integrated water resources plan, and that includes a look at how our rate structure is structured, our rate system is structured, looking at stormwater as well in an integrated way, and our sewer and water systems. And this plan will help us get money from the state and federal government. So that's the main goal, is that. And then on the sewer side, the council also approved several other projects that we were excited to get going. Upgrades. Yeah.
One of those things that I was paying attention to a little bit of a city council meeting, and you were talking about the meter.
Yeah.
Meter purchases.
Yeah, we have around 340. So there's water and sewer rates are increasing. There's a big need for that, especially because for 30 plus years we have been very reluctant to raise the rates to the level they should have been raised, slowly by step by step, a year at a time. So now we are facing an issue with not having enough revenue to support our expenses, and that's why the rates are going up. But then we are at the same time, we're not just saying rates are going up, let's move on. We are saying rates are going up, yes, but we're also providing some form of relief for anyone who is looking at wanting to reduce their pay at the end of the day. And that's coming in the form of two programs we're putting together. A meter replacement, so anyone who does not have a meter now that belongs and qualifies for tax exemption with the city can apply for the installation of a meter free of charge. And that's being done thanks to the ARPA funds being put together by the mayor.
Let me ask you a question real quick, if you can answer it. How do people apply for the exemption?
That is income and age eligibility, and they apply. I believe the deadline to apply this year has closed, but then the next one is next April, and that's going to be, so right now there's about, and I have this in the memo, there's about 100 available or eligible individuals that would apply. And then the other component of that is people with some form of disability are also going to be able to get relief in the form of a meter installation, and that's under that's another 230 individuals that can receive that. These are all programs that are already existing in the city, and we will be adding. If you're eligible for those programs, you will also be eligible for having a meter installed.
One of the things I want to ask you, right now this is just for people that own houses, not people that are renting or...
That's correct. The people renting, the landlords can work on installing meters, and oftentimes the water and sewer are not dissociated from the rent itself. Another program that we're putting together is not a city program, but rather we are assisting the BCAC in performing the low-income fuel assistant program. They're now expanding. This is a federal side effort, and they're now expanding it so that it includes water and sewer payments as well. So if you're at least a month behind on your water and sewer, you can and you qualify under the low-income fuel assistance program, you're also eligible for the federal government to pay for the water and sewer.
You may not know this, but would the landlords of people that take Section 8 be all eligible to apply for that?
I'm not aware.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to have to look into that too and see if they can
Right.
apply and make sure that's a kickback. But, folks, well, the reason why I brought all this up today is to say this. We can sit here and argue and discuss all the great things we want to do for the city, but if people can realize how important the city is to every one of us, we can do things together. We don't have to be apart. We don't have to be so negative about it. We don't have to be so, I'm out to get you because of this. I'm out there. You know, if we just work together, we can get a lot of this done.
I agree.
And some of it we can even get done with volunteers. I mean, most of it we can't because of contracts and stuff like that. And, but I know we weren't planning on getting into this, but we have time to. Is a big push on the garbage and cleaning up after yourself. And I want to ask you a little bit. I know, like me, I can't physically take the garbage out. I rent my house, so I have PCAs that take out the garbage, but they are not required to. And I know in some cases the landlords do, but in my case, my landlord lives in Hawaii, and the property manager isn't always around to take out the garbage. Is there a program? I know there is, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, there's.
Is there a program that's available for people like me to sign up for? And,
we offer a program with Casella to go behind the house, wherever the trash bins are, and grab them from there instead of having the residents move them to the front and the curbside.
Yeah.
And that's a program that we people with disabilities or with any sort of disability can sign up for, and we can have them in that list for Casella to do.
Specifically, would that have to come from the landlord, or would it be okay for me to?
I believe every individual can sign up for it. With renters, there needs to be some agreement with the landlord that that's happening.
Okay, so if I talk to my property manager, then I can sign up for it and get it done with us without a problem.
Yes.
Is that any cost to the?
That is not.
Okay.
No, it's not at a cost to the resident. The city picks up that cost.
Okay. Now, folks, that does not necessarily come under It should, but it does not necessarily come under the ADA. So this is not required that the city does this, but again, this is another program that the city is offering that a lot of people don't know about. And this show, and Ricardo and I, despite what people may think of us as individuals, meaning Ricardo and me, we fight every day, not physically by phone, but he and I fight dramatically day after day after day, and I spend hours on the phone with him sometimes.
Brian, I think if anyone is looking to sign up for that, they should call our office at 413-499-9331.
Okay, and you can talk to Judy.
Yes.
Because I know Judy is a good friend of mine, and she's a great person to talk to.
Yes, she is.
And I'm not saying that because I go to church with them, but just in general, everybody is nice. Everybody is out to help everybody. But sometimes we just get into little arguments about how things should be done. If we're worried about how things should be done all the time, it takes years and a lot of time to come up with ways not to do something.
Yeah.
If we just figure out a way to do it, the city and everybody would be more happier. How many arguments have you and I sat through specifically with the bike lane?
I know.
Stuff like
Too
that.
many.
Well, the bike lane's here. We're just going to have to deal with it.
And more coming.
More coming. Yeah. And one of the programs that I don't think people realize either, real quick, is the fact that we also have the scooter program.
Yeah.
From who's it from?
Bird, yeah.
Where if you go anywhere in the city, basically anywhere, but where are the typical locations?
Well, the program as it is designed, it's a dockless system. So if you find one and you need to get somewhere, you can rent it on the spot and then take it to where you are going. And after you're done with the ride, you can just leave it where you arrived, and that's your trip. And then someone else may need it and take it from there to a different location. Or if you need to ride back and it's still there, then you use it.
Just for education purposes, are they also GPS so that the people can?
Yes.
The people that own it, bird equipment can be relocated and picked up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what should be happening, and sometimes we have to remind the fleet manager at Bird, is that every day the entire fleet needs to be rebalanced and scooters repositioned in different locations based on where they are mostly used. And when that is done, it maximizes the use of those scooters. We're getting around 100 to 120 rides per day with the scooters, and peak peak for the season for this year will not come until around late August into September. So we're tracking the same numbers as last year, maybe a little lower. I know the price was raised a little bit, a few cents, from 39 to I think 42 cents. So maybe that's driving some of the lower usage, but also the novelty of it. Last year was the first year. This year they're in for a second one, and it may be a little bit less used. But the reality is that we're still getting 100 to 120 rides per day, where last year we were getting 130 to 150.
And
So,
real quick, we do get a percentage of that.
Yeah.
throughout the
yeah, last
city.
year we got around $3,000. We're not doing this for the money. The city's not doing it for the money. It's doing.
But it's a
But
nice
it's-
thing to have.
But definitely, people are using them. We very frequently see people commuting on the scooters. The recreational use is much lower now than last year, and the commuter use is higher. There's also reduced price system for people with low income and in need of, oftentimes are the ones that do not have a vehicle. So are usually the ones that need the scooter to move around. So that's very surprising. Right now we have around a 12% of the users are low-income users.
Yeah.
So we want to see that number to increase a little bit, because 12% of the population using the scooters being low income does not really match with the low income percentage in the city.
One thing I'd like to see, and I'll mention this real quick before I go on to the next thing, is I know there's personal care attendants that follow their clients around in wheelchairs and stuff. Grab a scooter and just
Follow on the scooter.
follow them on the scooter. That way, it's a lot easier and a lot faster than walking.
Yeah,
and,
there you go. That's a good
So
idea.
it kind of gets people mobile and used for the city, and
Yeah.
see what we can do there. But one thing I did want to mention real quick before I do run out of time, but is had you pull up some numbers for me. This is unofficial, but the numbers for the roundabout on Tyler Street since it's been put in. Now this hasn't been a full year and the work hasn't been completed yet, but we're already seeing some impressive.
Well, we were getting throughout all of Tyler Street, where we are doing the work, including the roundabout, since 2018. So the 5-year annual average was around 33 crashes per year.
Yeah.
That's significant to have in a city like Pittsfield. And what we've seen is in the last year, yes, there's been construction in the area, so people naturally tend to be a little more cautious around construction sites. But there has been a significant drop to the tune of 27% decrease in crashes, and that includes the roundabout. And I'm gonna say this, and I didn't mention this, but when you asked me earlier, but there were 3 crashes with pedestrians and 1 crash with a bicyclist in 2018, 2019, and 2020, and 2021. Those 3 years, those 4 years, there were those types of crashes. But since 2022 and what we have so far this year, there has been no crashes with pedestrians or cyclists, and that's very important.
Wow.
And even the crashes that are occurring, the 12 crashes that have occurred in the first half of the year are all minor crashes. They are all related to side swipes or stationary involving one vehicle, and very few involving head-on collision or collisions.
T-boning.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I would like to ask you on the air, and I think I asked you this before, is you can sporadically keep me updated on areas like that and the numbers so that I can express it on other shows and just kind of keep people updated as far as the news of what's going on in the city and what they're working on and stuff like that. But one of the other things I wanted to real quickly mention was the chief of police leaving and stuff. Is that going to affect your relationship in any way with the city police department?
I don't see that as a detriment. The chief of police, Chief Nguyen, his work with the city has been great, and I'm really glad to have worked with them. And our relationship was one that was one of cooperation between the two departments. And with the new chief, when he comes, or he or she comes, and with the interim chief, Dolly, I'm sure we can continue a sense of cooperation between the two departments.
There's no, of course there's difficulty in every position, but there's no palpable animosity between any of the department, between the public works department and the police department.
No, certainly not. We are the only ones who sometimes give us grief is when we give a parking ticket to one of the police officers. No, even then we are always cooperating with them. They do the same with us, and we work together as best as we can.
Yeah, I think that the cooperation will go both ways. But one of the things I'd like to continue to offer is my cooperation, even if I have another guest on the show. I will always put you in a priority position if you got anything that is coming up, especially when it gets to winter time and any code red situations.
Certainly.
I will put them out on the air immediately. If you need to, send them to me by text or whatever, and just update me personally so I can assist you in getting things out there. Now, I know there's people out there that are gunning, not necessarily gunning for you, but I mean, there are people out there that say, oh, we could do better and we could do better with somebody else. But on behalf of the disabled community and the city in general, with exception to those few city councilmen or that one city councilman, I'd like to congratulate you, and any way I can support you.
Thank you.
I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't say I would support you, but personally, you know how I feel about you, and you know we'll always work together.
Thank you. It's very heartwarming to hear that from you.
Even if you're off the city and you want to do something as far as a show or something,
yeah,
feel free to call me and we'll get it done somehow.
Well, you always get a hold of me, so that's not going to stop.
Now that I actually have you switched phones on me.
Yeah.
And
No.
this time, it's actually a personal
Yes.
number.
I'm always with that.
So, I'm not saying this to be funny, but if anybody doesn't want to talk to Ricardo, I don't know why, but if anybody doesn't want to talk to Ricardo, they can always contact the show or contact me on line at
Definitely.
Brian at Wheeling the Pathway to Life. Wheeling the Pathway to Life at gmail.com. And then feel free to leave me a message and I will forward it to Ricardo and get that out there. Mind you, Ricardo responds quickly, but depending on what he's doing and depending on what the weather's doing, there's some things that he may not be able to respond to quickly.
It happens. Yes.
Even though on a Sunday afternoon one time I was able to get him within 2 hours of responding. I'm sure that was due to Vinny stepping up to the plate and making a phone call through, but with good department heads and good department people, we can get anything done.
I agree.
So, as we get ready for the 4th of July, I will not be on here next week because we got too much work to do to get prepared for the 4th of July. But we'll be back the following week. And Ricardo, is there anything else that I missed or anything else that you want to?
I think we've covered a lot of ground. I'm sure in future interviews we'll talk more about our projects and what we got going on for the summer.
And next time we will have
Our city engineer.
our city engineer.
Yes.
And I will work on trying to get, and maybe you can assist me in this, once the interim chief takes over, maybe you can
Put a word and have him come here. I'll talk with him.
put a word in him, come here, and please tell him I don't bite. So, with that, folks, and be aware that during the 4th of July parade, the city Department of Public Works is involved with that, and they are very proud to be involved with that and providing vehicles and supporting vehicles and shutting down some areas with their vehicles. So, with that, folks, I think that enjoy the 4th of July, and we will be back next week. We will be back in 2 weeks on the 6th. Have a good afternoon, folks.
That you can bury the workmen, but the work will go on. You can silence the voices, but you can't stop the song. 'Cause when the spirit's moving is where we'll be done. You can bury the workmen, but the work will go on.